When Arsenal won the Premier League in the 2003-04 season, they did it without losing a game. Manager Arsene Wenger had created an invincible team that looked set to become a dynasty. Except they didn't. In fact, at the time of writing, Arsenal haven't won the Premier League title since. So, what happened? Why did the team that literally didn't lose a game never win the league again? The vast majority of the title-winning squad was still present when Arsenal went on to win the FA Cup the following season and for their run to the Champions League final in 2006. But really, that 2006 loss to Barcelona marks the end of an era for a number of reasons. In the Invincibles season, Arsenal had exciting young talents like Ashley Cole and Kolo Touré, while players like Thierry Henry were firmly in their prime. But 8 of the 20 players who played enough that season to win a Premier League winners' medal were aged 29 or over. A rebuild was necessary, and by the start of the 2006-07 season, just 8 players who'd been at Arsenal for the Invincibles season were still at the club. And 2006 also marked one of the biggest moments in Arsenal's history as a club. The club's home had been Highbury since 1913, but its capacity was just 38,000, and the waiting list for a ticket ran for over 3 years. Contrastingly, Manchester United, Arsenal's biggest rivals for silverware at the time, played at Old Trafford with a capacity of over 70,000 and outstripped Arsenal's matchday revenue by nearly £32 million a season. Clearly, a bigger stadium was needed to keep up. So, Arsenal bought a nearby industrial and waste disposal estate called Ashburton Grove, and in 2002 they had plans approved to build a 60,000-seater stadium on it that would be known as the Emirates Stadium. That decision has helped make Arsenal one of the richest football clubs in the world today, but in the short term, it put them under huge financial strain. Rather than replacing star players like Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp with established elite-level quality, Wenger was forced to take gambles on younger, unproven players. Many of whom actually flourished. Players like Cesc Fabregas, Robin van Persie, Samir Nasri and Emmanuel Adebayor would play their part in title challenges in the late 2000s and early 2010s. However, they lacked the experience and confidence of the Invincibles, and when crunch time came in title races, Arsenal would regularly fall away. The problem was that the team couldn't afford to buy in more experience. And having finished outside of the Premier League top 2 just once in Wenger's first 9 years at the club, Arsenal would finish inside it just once more before his departure in 2018. And the policy of unearthing these young talents also placed Arsenal into a vicious cycle. Each time a player developed into a star, they'd be forced to sell them to make ends meet for the move to the Emirates. The likes of Fabregas, Van Persie and Nasri all left as Arsenal couldn't afford to turn offers down to keep them. And crucially, this all coincided with a huge shift of power in English football. In the summer that the Invincible season began, billionaire oligarch Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea and began pumping unprecedented amounts of money into the club to catapult them to the top. While Arsenal were unable to keep their best players, other clubs thrived. Former Arsenal chairman David Dein would later describe the threat that Chelsea posed by saying, "Roman Abramovich parked his Russian tank in our front garden and is firing £50 notes at us." Then, in 2008, the Abu Dhabi United group purchased Manchester City and embarked on a similar spending spree, adding some of Arsenal's star players to their squad. To replace them, Wenger was, once again, forced to shop on a far smaller budget than his competitors. At the time, he was often the butt of jokes about his ability to keep Arsenal in the top 4, but in retrospect, it was arguably a remarkable achievement. And finally, there's the matter of how the money they could spend was increasingly invested. The Invincibles were a team known for their creativity and flair, but their competitiveness and physicality were also key. In an article looking back at what they were like to play against, former Wolves midfielder Alex Ray described them to The Athletic as, quote, "a team of giants." But in the years following the Invincibles, Wenger moved away from that identity. Having built his early teams around physically dominant players like Vieira, the focus shifted to more technical players like Fabregas, Nasri, Thomas Rosicky, Alexander Hleb, Aaron Ramsey, Mesut Ozil, Santi Cazorla and Andrei Arshavin. And while the football they played was often thrilling to watch, Arsenal were less giants and more often perceived as being a softer touch. After the 2005 FA Cup, Arsenal didn't win a trophy for 9 years. And the team that didn't lose a game during the Invincible season quickly became history. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and James Horncastle. With the latest transfer news and insight on every Premier League football story that matters, theathletic.com puts you inside football.